Hello, everybody, and happy Wednesday. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Hockey Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah here with Petey. Petey, would you like to tell the people why you're home right now? I know people have been wondering.
Okay, first of all, you're going to hear in about 2 seconds because I'm muting my microphone as best as I possibly can. but the home demolition, the money pit continues today. And I had to be here today because you have to be here when the schedule allows for it. And today is a day that we are actually finally moving forward. So if I have to be muted now and then, I apologize. But this is all about the home work for my little water damage back in April. But I am ready to talk hockey, and I will mute in between, and I will do my best. So I apologize in advance.
All right. I know people have been dying to know what's happening in the home. We have Gabriel in the chat, Charles in the chat saying #vote Petey. Yeah, I mean, election season is in full swing here at PHNX.
And we have seen, if you've been following the PHNX the sports channel, there is a lot of mayoral candidate discussions. There may be more incoming. Just be patient. Be patient for some positive vibes and some positive messages coming your way very, very soon.
Well, let's keep the positive vibes going, Petey. We're going to talk all about expansion today, and then we'll round things off with some around the NHL storylines. But first of all, Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly was in Prague this week for the European media tour, and he caught up with Elliotte Friedman talking about expansion. And it's so weird. Like, I'm kind of trying to come to terms with the fact that we're talking about expansion as it relates to Arizona. You know, all of our previous expansion discussions, it was like hypothetical. Oh, maybe this city, maybe this city. And now we're advocating for Arizona to be considered as an expansion market. It's just a very odd situation to be in, but that's why we're talking about it today. Bill Daly, in talking to Elliotte Friedman, said it's coming at, quote, the appropriate time was the phrase he used. He was doing, as Craig always says, the lawyer speak. He talked about that the U.S. has fewer NHL markets in the U.S. Than other leagues like the NBA, MLB, etc. There's also the issue that the CBA expires in 25-26. So do you possibly expand with the next CBA at that time? He said, I don't know. I don't think that's how we view it or approaching it. It will happen when it's ready to happen. And last thing, is there a maximum number you wouldn't exceed? Was the question. The answer was yes. Do I know what that number is? No. So that's kind of where we are. Again, very vague, but I think the biggest takeaway from this is that he was talking about expansion and he wasn't saying no to expansion. And he was kind of implying that it'll happen when it happens. I know it's not a lot to go off of, but it's not a no.
Yeah, but here's the thing that you have to take away from this, that expansion is being discussed now. And this is a thing, and it's coming from the highest levels inside the league that they're considering expansion. It's not like, well, you've always heard rumors and scuttlebutt. Now it's, we're thinking expansion. We're expanding quite a bit, actually. It's not just one team; it could be more. And when he said we haven't set what that limit is, I'm hearing, and again, it's not Bill Daly. I don't have Craig Morgan type sources, but I'm hearing that it could be as many as 4 teams.
Wow. I mean, that would be insane. And you could make the argument for maybe that's too many. I'm not going to do that because it's in our best interest for a team to come back. And if Arizona could possibly be one of the 4, I'm going to fight for that. He was talking about the decision behind the numbers, and it's not a decision that's up to just the league. It's up to the other ownership groups as well. And he talked about the last two expansions in particular, like the 98-2000 and, you know, the $80 million expansion fee, which I can't believe how low that number is now compared to what the expansion fee number would possibly be now. He said about the expansion fee, I think it's safe to say Gary and I have our marching orders in terms of what we'd expect that value to be. And Elliotte asked, does it start with a 2? And he said, I'm not going to get more specific than that. It's just insane how everything has evolved. But, you know, he really did talk about how the ownership groups are going to want to say in this as well and look at it, how it helps them in the long term, not just in the short term of them getting the check of that expansion fee. And you know, right now the NHL has 32 teams. There's people who might argue that's enough. That's too many already. But for me, for the purpose of this show and the fact that it's in my best interest, yours, and a lot of the people listening for an expansion team to come back to Arizona, put as many teams in the league as it takes for Arizona to be one of them.
Yeah, and one of the things you said that's interesting is it's got to be beneficial to the owners, the other owners in the league. And one of the things that I think makes Phoenix attractive is there is the belief that with its TV market, the size of the population here, that they can generate revenue here. However, it has to be done with a solid ownership group, with an arena that is built. And those two things are what's always been lacking. I think the support was here. The fan base was here. Hockey fans wanted to be here for this community and this hockey community here in Arizona, but it just always lacked that solid ownership group and an arena. So I do believe owners would look favorably upon Arizona. However, they do not want to have Arizona mess 2.0. Like they just don't. They've got to clean it up. They've got a new page has been turned. It has to be done right. And then I think the ownership groups and board of governors would embrace something coming back to Arizona, but it has to be done right. Otherwise, it's going to be no chance, because you look at the other cities, and somebody just said it in the chat, was Atlanta. Atlanta's kicked the can twice. You know, they had the Atlanta Flames that moved to Calgary. Then they had the Atlanta Thrashers that moved to Winnipeg. I guess if you want more teams in Canada, start rooting for a team to move to Atlanta, because ultimately it's going to end up north of the border. So I do believe Atlanta has an advantage right now, because they have what appears to be a fairly stable group. And I think they have the ability to have an arena almost immediately. So I think that's going to be on the list. I think Atlanta's going to be on the list, and we haven't seen expansion in the East because we saw Vegas come in, Seattle, and now Utah. So we've seen the West with their expansion. I do believe the East is going to get a team, and I do believe it's going to be Atlanta.
Absolutely. And there's been people who, you know, and fairly so, been frustrated that Atlanta is being given potentially another chance, especially since there's been 2 failures. I'm not necessarily in that camp, especially having been here in Arizona. There's so many other factors at play besides just it didn't work out. Like, it didn't work out is the easiest way for you to say something, but there's so many little things that contribute to why it didn't work out. And here in Arizona, obviously the biggest one is the arena factor. But if Atlanta has a solid ownership group in an arena, there's no reason I don't see they should be given a third chance. And then maybe if with those 2 things, if it still doesn't work out, maybe you can say, okay, maybe that's not a great NHL market at this time. But like you said, for Arizona, it comes down to strong and solid ownership and an arena. And those are 2 things that haven't been here the whole time. And I could totally see, you know, there might be people watching this show, listening right now, who are like, are you kidding me? Arizona, all the drama that they just went through, they had to get the team taken away. Why would the NHL go back there? But there's a lot of reasons why they would, Petey. A lot of reasons.
Yeah, and I think we've already touched on some of those. And this sport relies on television revenue. They do, and one of the things that Arizona has is it's a big TV market, and I think that's going to be one of the things. And it's a big U.S. market. And you talked about what you said before, how these other sports do have these teams in the United States. There are more teams in the United States. So I do believe that the television revenue is a big deal, and that's what the owners. Hey, we've got one of the biggest markets. You know, it's top 15. You hear 12, 13. It depends on what list you look at. This is 11 on the one we have, but it's a huge TV market. And when you're looking at a new CBA and you're looking at new revenue streams and how can you generate more revenue, you need to have those large TV markets locked up. And Phoenix definitely checks that box. And I know You talk about the population area too here, and you talk about how big, what do you have with the Phoenix proper 1.6 million and nearly 5 million in the surrounding areas, which makes this a huge metropolitan area. And again, you're talking about the ability not just to generate fans to go to games, but you're talking about generating fans of your product, whether that's merchandise or just embracing the television market or paying money to be part of the streaming services. I think that large base of population is a huge driver, but the TV market clearly is too. And we've seen it, Leah. Hockey works here. And I'm going to go back to when I was at the Ice Den a week ago, and this is something I talked about on one of our audio podcasts, is when I talk to players, they want to play here. And this is not just guys that are playing or have played for the Arizona Coyotes. These are guys that are playing around the league. This is an incredibly attractive market to play in for free agents. Clearly, the weather is one. This is, and you can fly under the radar. I'm not going to lie about that either, but this is a great place to live. People want to live in Arizona. So I think once you see the CBA will support this, I think the Board of Governors is going to support it from a financial decision. Now it's the hard part. It's the part that's failed here for 25 years, is a stable owner and a building to play in. And that's the same thing what we've been saying year after year after year after year. Can someone put the money together to get this done? I don't know. You talked about the expansion fees going up over $1 billion. It's going to be an issue. And can they do that and build a building too? One of the things I read in the article that you're referencing today is the ability to get city funds or political funds or have people help in building this facility. And there's been no appetite for that in a lot of the municipalities and at the state level. So I think it's going to see a group that comes in here that has the ability to change minds at a political level to get some of the funding to help build a facility. And I'm not saying that's impossible here in Arizona. I think if you put the right group together, I think it's something possible. Tempe was excited about the proposal that was put forth to them. I do think it's going to have to be a similar proposal that is beneficial for a municipality for a team to come back. But I am extremely hopeful. And one last thing I'm going to say, Leah, about it, probably not the last thing because I'm going to talk more, but otherwise it's going to be a short show. But people in the league, and that is management from other teams, coaches, and people that work inside the league, maybe not Bill Daly, maybe not Gary Bettman, but people within the league. I have not heard one person say that Arizona is not attractive or Arizona should not be considered. It's the exact opposite. People are saying there's going to be a team back here. There's going to be a team. Bettman wants a team. The league wants a team. You talk to other managers, they want a team back. So I believe, I'm trying not to just blow smoke, but I really do believe there will be an NHL team back in Arizona. I hope. And don't expect to hear anything over the next 12 months. It's going to be very quiet. Again, for all the reasons we just mentioned, that we're tired of hearing of Arizona. So I don't think you're going to hear about Arizona until next summer, going into next fall, and then you'll start to hear rumblings. And at that point, with the CBA getting close to expiring, then maybe we can finally start hearing some positive news of things moving forward. It's going to be a while. It's going to be 12 to 14 months, and then we might start hearing the rumors that hockey could actually come back to the desert.
Yeah. So Roaring Fork in the chat said the NHL wants a team in Phoenix, but the people and politicians don't want to build a place for the team to play. But the NHL wants matters little if the latter doesn't change. Pretty much what you just touched on, Petey. It's extremely true. Eagle Knight said one other item that the solid ownership needs a face and a name, calling on Captain Shane Doan. It's so true. They're one of the things that's been lacking in the ownership groups of the Coyotes 1.0 was a group or person that was dedicated to Arizona and was Arizona first and wanted to see hockey thrive here rather than it just be a real estate situation or a business plan. And obviously owning an NHL team is about business, but you can also have that and care about the community that you're in. And that's something that we haven't really seen. And Gabriel, says it best in the chat as well. Step one, build relationships with the local stakeholders. It's another thing that we haven't seen. And especially with the Morello ownership group, they possibly did the opposite of that and actually burned bridges with local stakeholders. So, I think we need to see those things in place. It's really, it's hard to hear 12 to 14 months we won't hear news. It's hard to hear Bill Daly say, at an appropriate time, at the appropriate time. But, I can't tell you when. Maybe the CBA expiring in 25, 26, those two things don't go together. It's hard right now to have all of these questions of uncertainty. It's only been a couple months since the Coyotes left, and we're going to have to wait a lot longer. And that's a really, really, really hard pill to swallow. And I know maybe we're sitting here talking about this early, but I just think it's important to assert, like, hey, there's people here who want to see this happen, not just here, the fans, the community, but people around the league as well. And, when I was at the NHL draft in Vegas this June, talked to national media members and player agents and all of them. Like, there's not one person that I talked to that said, like, nah, they're not going back. It sucks. Like, why would they do that? I get why fans on Twitter would say, oh, why would they do that? But there's really no reason for them to not come back, except for there does need to be a solid ownership in an arena.
There's no building other than that. But the one name you mentioned here. But if they could
get that, it would be a perfect market. It would be a perfect expansion market and a perfect NHL market. And we've seen the Sunbelt teams thrive. We really have. And this is like the new era and wave of the NHL. It's just the arena and the ownership group. It needs to happen.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's two names I think that are going to be key to this thing moving forward, and you brought up one of them, and that's Shane Doan. And it may be a dream, and it may be just the Hollywood story that we want to see here in Arizona is Shane Doan coming back on his white horse with his cowboy hat on and saving the day for hockey in Arizona. But I don't think it's just us seeing that picture. I think Shane Doan wants to be that guy too. I really do. And I think when you go back and look at what his career has done, every opportunity that he had a chance to leave this state and leave this city, he stayed. Very loyal to the city, his family here, his house here. We've talked about that ad nauseum. I think he does want to be the guy that finds a way to bring hockey back here. I know the league would love to see that because he was a part of the league, and Gary Bettman and Bill Daly, and he worked with those guys very closely for years when he worked for the league. And I know they want to support something that Shane Doan can get behind. We know the politicians in the city would listen. He had John McCain's ear at the time when John McCain was very involved here in the politics of our state. So he's a guy that can get that community. I think he can get business leaders involved. He can get the fan base involved. He is the glue that can stick this all together. I think that's important. And another name that we brought up earlier, probably, a few weeks ago, was Matt Ishbia. Now, I don't think it has to be Matt Ishbia. I don't think it has to be him involved to get this done. I don't think it has to be a marriage between the Suns and a hockey team in downtown. But that sure looks good. And that sure makes this a very clean business decision. The city can get involved. And I think if it's the force of the Suns and the Coyotes and Shane Doan and the league and Matt Ishbia, I do think things would move much, much more quickly. I think you would get much, much more support by the political machine. I just don't know his level of interest. And right now we're hearing it's not imminent, but maybe, just maybe, if we continue to talk about it, we can will it into existence.
We can manifest it. But at the very least, the things that we can take away, and it's hard, there's not a ton of like super concrete things to take away, but we can take away, which we talked about a few weeks ago when the Matt Ishbia comments came out, was whether or not he's going to be involved at all. He was supportive of an NHL team coming here and wants to see it happen. That's a positive. And then Bill Daly talking about expansion and not saying no to it. That's a positive. And he was also asked about, one of the arguments against expansion is the dilution of talent. And he said the quality of the talent on the player side is better than it's ever been and deeper than it's ever been. I don't worry in terms of dilution of talent. Skill levels off the charts. The league is becoming younger and younger. Not concerned about it. So shutting down, some of the arguments against expansion. So, it's very broad and it's very vague, but it's not a no is what we're saying, He's not saying, okay, yeah, we're going to add 4 expansion teams in 3 years. That would be great. That's what we all want to hear. We want to hear what they are, what we want to hear, that it's Arizona, Atlanta, Houston, and whatever. But that's not what it is. So we're going to take hold of the things that we can hold on to. In the meantime, as we bide our time and continue to support hockey in Arizona from a youth hockey, high school hockey, college hockey level, you can do that. And I recommend everybody takes the pledge for the Matt Schott Foundation that you're going to, pledge to continue to keep hockey alive and well here in the state, even without the NHL team. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to be advocates for Arizona as an NHL market in the greater Phoenix area for it. And hopefully, PD, that you and I will be here and a lot of the diehards will be here when we do get to see Coyotes 2.0. I just hope that it's sooner rather than later.
I hope I really want to be a part of this, and I know it's something I talked about on social media last night. Is I want to be here and be a voice and be someone sitting in the stands talking about a new hockey team in Arizona. I hope I get the opportunity to do that. I want to be, and I know you feel exactly the same way, that you want to be on that ride as the arena starts to get built, as the dream of this franchise coming back starts to become reality. When we talk about all of the things we can't wait to talk about, players and expansion drafts and logos and uniforms and buildings and all of those things, I want it to happen right here at PHNX. So let's get on this soon, because Craig and I are clearly not getting any younger. And so the sooner, absolutely the better. But you brought up, I think we've brought up all the points. And I do think people are saying that's one of the advantages. If you get the CBA involved, more jobs for players. You're talking about, another 80 jobs, 80 to 100 jobs if you had 4 more teams. I think if you can get the Players Association to buy into this, that's always been a hurdle for anything the league has trying to accomplish. I think that you would hear nothing but praise by the Players Association by trying to expand, especially back here to Arizona.
Absolutely. And another comment that Elliotte Friedman made in his 32 Thoughts piece was that the NHLPA and NHL, their relationship's never been stronger, is what Bill Daly said. And it's not just the NHL wanting to see this happen, but the PA too. And I think that's really positive. So we'll hold on to that for now, PD, and we'll be here at PHNX following along the saga of hopefully bringing a team back to Arizona. Still lots to talk about. We're going to get to some NHL storylines, but first thing first, PD, one thing that we can all hang our hats on right now and be part of the community is we are all members of the Circle K Inner Circle. And if you're not a member of the Inner Circle, you're missing out, because it's free to join and you get so many benefits. I save 5 cents per gallon every single time I get gas. Plus, you also get a number of deals and discounts on the snacks and drinks at Circle K, Polar Pops, Frosters, just 79 cents for a couple more days here at any Arizona location. So make sure you join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. And then once you do that, all you do is enter your phone number at the pump. It knows you're part of the Inner Circle. Your first 5 fill-ups, you save 25 cents per gallon. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And once you have a full tank of gas, PD, then you can head out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass this Thursday, especially for our PHNX Fantasy Draft. We'll talk more about that later. But you're a big Gila River Resorts and Casinos fan, PD. I know that.
I am, and it's all about the theater for me. I'm not much of a gambler, although you can absolutely do that there. But I like sports. We've got the huge sports book. I do like sports gambling, so we got the sports book there. But we've got the theater, and you get to see some of the great artists coming through locally in really small locations. And the last one my neighbor went to was Rick Springfield. So make sure you check out not just what's going on in the dining, bars, and the sports book and the gaming floor, largest gaming floor in Arizona. But check out the theater, and you'd be surprised who's all rolling through the theater at Wild Horse Pass.
Yes, you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. All right, PD, there's been the August of NHL news continues. This has just been the busiest August in offseason news I can remember in the NHL in a long time. And we're going to set aside a little bit of time to talk about the San Jose Sharks, a team that has kind of been at the bottom as of late, but are now making some moves to kind of establish themselves on the scene and set themselves up as a team, much like the Coyotes, now Utah, was putting the pieces in place to have a super successful team down the line. Obviously, they drafted Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini. Those are 2 big pieces, but they made a splashy trade this past week, and San Jose acquired goalie Yaroslav Askarov from the Nashville Predators, along with Nolan Burke and a 2025 third-round pick in exchange for David Edstrom, who was a first-round pick in 2023, goalie Magnus Krona, and a 2025 conditional first-round pick. So San Jose making a splash, taking a gamble on what is widely considered one of the top NHL goalie prospects. He was the 11th overall pick in 2020, Askarov was. And he had a .911 save percentage in back-to-back AHL seasons. He's on the rise, but a big gamble for San Jose. What do you think about this trade?
Well, it's interesting because when you go back and look at the San Jose Sharks, this is a team that year after year was one of the top teams in the National Hockey League. Conference finals, semifinals. When you go back to the early 2000s, this team was one of the best teams in the West. With Jumbo Joe Thornton and Marlowe and Pavelski, and it all started with a Russian goaltender, with Yevgeny Nabokov. And so when you look at Askarov at 6'3", maybe he can be the guy. Maybe he's the catalyst to get the San Jose Sharks back to that former glory. And you go back when all the rivalries that the Arizona Coyotes had with that San Jose Shark club, and they played them once in the playoffs and had a really hard time because that San Jose Shark team was dominating. And I think it's funny because it's almost a team you forget exists right now. They play so late at night. They're on the West Coast, even later than here. And, I go to bed early, but they've just kind of fell off the map. And now I think with Macklin Celebrini, and you do talk about Will Smith's going to be a really good player too. So you're adding two young, very talented college kids to their lineup, and one of the best goalie prospects in the world right now, all going to San Jose. So I think it bodes well for the future rivalry between the San Jose Sharks and Arizona Coyotes 2.0, which will be in sometime 28, 29, maybe, Leah, 29, 30. I don't know, but soon. But I think it's a team you're going to have to definitely keep your eye on. And I think they're definitely turning the corner and going to be the team that they were back in the early 2000s. They still have a ways to go. This is not a playoff team yet, but I think they're going to be some highlight reel goals from this team. I think you're going to see some steps in the right direction from this team. But even with a young goaltender, even if you step in the lineup, this is an incredibly young team, and they're just not quite ready yet. But it's going to be a fun team to watch in the Southwest of the United States, a team that's going to be an interesting team, and they're moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, I think it's a little bit of a gamble just because he's not proven in the NHL yet. But as far as potential, he has the chance to be a number one goalie in the league. And if that works out for San Jose, they could be looking really, really good in a few years' time. And it is bittersweet to look at this story, Petey, because as we covered the rebuild for the last 3 years here in Arizona, and you thought, you're going through the hard times to put the pieces in place so that it pays off in a few years down the road. This, when I thought about all these San Jose moves, it was like, okay, they're doing the same thing. They're very much in the midst of a rebuild right now, and they're probably going to come out better on the other side. And it just reminds me of what it was with the Coyotes. It makes me sad that here in Arizona, we don't get to experience the fruits of that anymore. But if you're looking for, I guess, a team maybe to throw your hat in the ring, and we're going to get to later in the year, some teams that we might want to be following. San Jose is an interesting one, at least to keep your eye on for now, as a potential team to root for in the coming years, as a team that I think could definitely be on the rise and maybe back to where they were before, and eventually, hopefully for them, finally get over the hump and win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and a team in California being good and getting good TV ratings is good for the league. We talked about everybody helping everybody, and it's good for the league to have a good team in California, especially with a player like Macklin Celebrini. And so you get those Celebrini-Bedard matchups. Chicago, San Jose coming soon. Maybe it'll be one of those new Ovechkin, Crosby matchups in the years to come.
Very true. Well, shifting gears, we'll talk about a player who's played for both the Coyotes and the Sharks. How's that for a tie-in? Anthony Duclair. This is another storyline that kind of took the internet by storm this past week. Duclair, of course, signed with the New York Islanders this offseason, and GM of the Islanders, of course, is Lou Lamoriello, who historically has had some very strict policies when it comes to his teams, more so than any other GM I can think of, at least in modern times. And he has a clean cut policy. So clean cut hair, shaved beards in the regular season. And it's been talked about a lot over the years, but never as much as it's been talked about this past week, because Anthony Duclair posted this photo on his Instagram story. He had cut off all of his dreads, posted it on his story with the emoji of, like a little tear going, but kind of a smiley tear, kind of that bittersweet emoji. And there was a lot of conversation online about this, about people, thinking that it's wrong that this policy is in place. Anthony Duclair having dreads, and he had to cut them off. And I know that our producer Kevin has some thoughts on this too. So actually, I'll throw it to Kevin first. I want to hear from Kevin on this, because you and he were talking the other day. So Kevin, I'm putting you on the spot, and we're going to get to know Kevin later in the show as well. But what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I know that took a long time to grow. I mean, I have similar length hair to Duclair. Mine might be a little longer at this point, but yeah, that takes a long time to grow. But also, I feel like he wouldn't make that decision if he didn't want to be there. It's not like that policy is a secret. It might be a little bit outdated. I mean, this isn't the 70s or 80s. I know the Islanders invented the playoff beard in the 80s, which is a fun fact. But yeah, I mean, it's an individual decision. He chose to sign there. We know who Lou Lamoriello is. We know what he values. Suits on the road, no jeans kind of guy. But yeah, it's kind of a sad sight. That's a lot of time investment in that hair, just to see it go just like that.
PD?
Yeah, you know what? For me, this comes down to Lou Lamoriello, and he and George Steinbrenner started this back in the early 70s with the New York Yankees, and they were friends, actually, Lou Lamoriello and Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner has since passed away and is no longer the owner of the New York Yankees, and yet they still have their no facial hair policy and the short hair policy as in New York. They tried it in Miami, didn't work. Players revolted, and they didn't keep the no facial hair policy. For me, Lou Lamoriello does it to build unity within the team and discipline within the team. No one is exempt from this rule, from Patrick Roy behind the bench all the way to every single player and male staff members. It's everybody. So nobody's singled out. Everybody has to follow these rules. However, to what end? And this is where I struggle with it, because I'm all for team building. I want everybody to be on the same page. I've been inside those coaches' rooms, and you want teams to be together. Does that, having a guy's hair longer than his collar, does that exclude him from being a member of that team? Does a player like Liam O'Brien for the Arizona Coyotes, who expressed himself through his beard and his long hair, does that take away who that person is? Is it like the Samson getting his hair cut? I don't know. I believe the league is trying extremely hard to push its stars and its personalities. I think it's very important that this league, I think, is a little behind in that, and they're trying their best to promote their stars and their individual personalities behind their star players. I think that it's time to move past these rules. I think it's time to allow players to express themselves and maybe become that personality. Hey, and this is going to sound terrible, Leah, and I know players start the hate mail. If you win, if you're the New England Patriots and you win 4 or 5 Super Bowls in a row, and they tell you to cut your hair. Like, I hate to say it, but what have the Islanders done lately? And when he was before that, Lou was within Toronto. What did they do lately? Like, no offense, but what the point of this whole thing, the point of everybody playing in this game in the National Hockey League, is to win a Stanley Cup. And if you hold yourself at a standard above everyone, not just in your facial hair and your appearance, but also on your performance on the ice, maybe I'll listen more. But for me, it's show me what you've done. Like, it's been a long time. Like, Lou was incredibly successful in New Jersey, and it worked, but that was a long time ago. I don't know if this works in 2024. And we've seen players change the way things go in this league, and the players drive those changes, and this will happen. The Islanders will move past this at some point. Now, will they move past it before Lou moves on? Lou's 81 years old. If this team does not have success in the playoffs this year, I'm not sure how much longer he will continue to be the GM. I know Lou Lamoriello. I really like Lou Lamoriello. I think he's a wonderful human being. He's a nice guy. He and my dad were very good friends, both college hockey coaches at the same time. They have a very similar belief system. And my dad always made sure my hair was very short. growing up, and that's why I rebelled with a mullet when I got to college. But I see a lot of my dad and Lou Lamoriello, a good man. I'm just not sure these rules apply in 2024.
Yeah. My 2 cents. Do I understand the policy, the reason behind it? Yes. Do I think that Duclair knew what was happening what he would have to do when he signed there? Yes. But 1987, when this policy was introduced, was almost 40 years ago, and it's a completely different era that we're in. Things have changed. I really liked, on the flip side, the policy that the Coyotes had here these last couple years, where some of their game day outfits were more casual. There were days where they would all wear suits, but then there were days that they would get to be more expressive, and we're starting to see that expression. And I think that's something that the NHL, like you mentioned, has been extremely behind the other leagues in. And, we want to see more personality from the players. And when you get to express yourself through your clothing and your hair, then you get to see more personality rather than being told what to wear and what to do. And is it totally Lou Lamoriello's discretion? It's his team. He can say what he wants, of course, just like any other employer can require, hey, you have to be business casual in the office, or hey, this is a casual office. It's a workplace just like any other. So I understand that. But I just think that in this new wave of where the NHL is headed and what we want to see from the NHL, which is more personality, more expression, that this policy is outdated for those reasons. That's kind of where I stand on it.
Yep, agree.
But we can move on. Last note from me on news around the NHL was another exciting one, and one that I think helps grow the game, and that's all local Anaheim Ducks TV broadcasts will be 100% free on all devices this season. TV deals is something we talked about a lot this past year here in Arizona, and I think especially in a market like Anaheim, Southern California, having hockey be accessible to your fan base, to your audiences, is huge. I think that we're kind of starting to see this with some teams and some other teams. There's a lot of frustration with their TV deals, such as Colorado, I can name, for example. But I think this is a really great step in the right direction for growing the game, especially in, these Sunbelt markets. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. But it's funny, Leah, the more we go forward, the more we go backwards as far as TV. And I think the biggest reason what you're seeing here now, instead of paying for the service, you're going to watch commercials. And I think one of the things, hey, let's face it, commercials and advertising drive television revenue. That's where you make your money. And there are very few places where you can't fast forward through commercials and skip commercials and stream without watching commercials. And it's live sports. So live sports are really the only medium right now. Like, do you sit and watch your Love Island no, you don't watch it with commercials. You zip through the commercials, or you don't have them. And I think you don't have a choice when you watch sports. So I think this is going to allow, we're not going to where you can zip through things. We're going back to where you have to watch commercials. And I think that's where you're going to see applications like this with the broadcast rights. They're going to make their money back on the advertising and the reach. So many more people are going to be able to see their product and be excited about the Anaheim Ducks, especially for a team that's still trying to find their way back to the playoffs. So is this the trend? I'm not sure yet. I know the Coyotes, before they left, had the paying streaming service, and it just didn't quite hit. It was late in the year when they added it. It wasn't the right timing, and they didn't market it properly, and all of those things that made it not a success. I don't know if this maybe is the trend, and people having more access to it. You see people, watching the game virtually anywhere, and more fans is better for the sport. So we'll see if this is the trend. I love it that it's free access, and hopefully if and when a team comes back, we'll be able to watch that team, because that has been a problem for the Arizona Coyotes 1.0 for a very long time, was their inability for people to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the Coyotes and now Utah, there was the free over the air thing with an antenna, and that's true. But again, this new age of streaming, to have it be free in that aspect, I think is really great. And especially for a team like Anaheim in a market like Southern California, I think it was the right move. So I'm excited to see where that goes, and I'm excited to see kind of the evolution of this across the league and see how the different markets adapt. Before we get to our last segment, PD, we have an exciting day tomorrow, and you're going to be part of it.
Yeah. Is that tomorrow already?
It is. Yeah.
Can I ask a serious question before you promote this?
Yes.
And this is, when is it? Like, I know where it is, but what time?
It's at 6:30.
It starts at 6:30, but the doors open at 6 for people to come. We want you to come to Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass tomorrow, 6 p.m., because we are doing a live PHNX Fantasy draft. That's right. Our own PHNX staff will be doing their fantasy drafts live. We're live streaming it, so if you can't make it in person, you can watch it on our PHNX Sports YouTube channel. But if you can make it, you can boo, you can cheer, and most importantly, Petey is actually going to be on the panel. I know Petey, hockey analyst Petey, will be on the fantasy football panel, but at Gila River, we'll have food and drink specials for everybody in attendance. So we want to see you come on out. You can RSVP now. Go phnx.com/events. But this is going to be a broadcast unlike anything you've ever seen.
And if you know some of the PHNX personalities, this is going to be something you definitely want to tune into, because if you go to the Cardinals host, Johnny Venerable, who knows?
Oh, we just lost Petey. All right. Listen, he needs to go prepare for his panel time. But we're going to have Petey will be on the panel. There you go. What happened?
Yeah. I don't know. It just said you're disconnected. I don't, maybe Johnny behind the scenes, Johnny shut me off. He's got a lot of pressure on Johnny Venerable, but if you don't know the personality of PHNX, this is your great opportunity for you to see everybody. There's going to be a lot of harsh criticism of some of these people as they make horrific picks one after the other. I can't wait. I can't wait. I know it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you're just looking to smile, because sometimes people just need a smile and a laugh. And if you want to learn a little bit about football along the way and get ready for your own fantasy draft, this may be a perfect opportunity. Come out and join us. And if you can't join us, the
champ is here.
Oh, see now, Diefenlock, a lot of pressure on him too.
He didn't make playoffs last year. He had a controversial second place finish year one. There's a lot of storylines in the PHNX Fantasy League. We're also, especially with election season here at PHNX, there's a lot of bad blood between some of these players. So it's going to be a very, very interesting night tomorrow night. I can't wait. Again, make sure you set a reminder on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. But if you're local here, we'd love to have you come out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass to join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. But one of those guys making his PHNX Fantasy Football debut is our new producer, Kevin, who you heard on the mic a little bit ago. So Kevin, I'm going to give you the floor now. If you're watching or listening, you might think, who is that? We are so excited about our new producer, Kevin. So Kevin, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and we should all know Kevin's a hockey fan, and that's really exciting for the show.
Yes, I am. I am a hockey fan. I'm a St. Louis Blues fan specifically, lifelong. From St. Louis, that's my 314 hometown. That's what I rep. For Wildcats fans, I'm on that show as well. So if you're a Caleb Love guy, Courtney Ramey guy, all St. Louis legends. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I like hockey. I'm here because I love Petey. Leah's awesome. It's awesome talking to everybody, talking hockey. I'm excited for the upcoming season. Unfortunately, no Coyotes, obviously, but we're going to make do. And in terms of the fantasy draft, not a lot of love for me because I'm new, and that's fine. I expect it. It's okay. I expect, to be underrated coming into the season, but I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And so, Diefenbach might think he's going to win, but no, you can lock him in last because I will be first.
The show has begun.
And, I don't care if it's Derek. I don't care if it's Espo. I don't care if it's Saul. Like, I'm coming for next. I'm not here.
Kev's crew is here to play.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's all I got to say for today. But you'll catch me. You'll catch me for the rest of the season on the show. And I'm excited to be here. Thanks for everyone liking, commenting, and subscribing. So we appreciate you guys.
Oh, whoa.
I tell you,
what is happening? All right.
Kevin understands the assignment. That is, here comes the Diefenlock.
What did you just say to me?
I believe I said you can lock yourself in last because I'm going to be first.
But why do I have to be in last?
Because your name rhymes with lock, and lock goes with last, so it's kind of unfortunate.
Well, you're using one of my best nickname against myself. First of all,
I am.
Second of all, don't know anything about me. You know nothing about me. You don't know how much research, how much blood, sweat, and tears I put into this league. I should have won year one if the shenanigans didn't happen on the field that night. Also, my RB2's leg exploded last year while I was at the game. I will not have this ever from somebody who hasn't earned shit.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Whoa.
The shenanigans
Here we
that
go.
Shane is talking about is somebody that literally died almost on the field in a Monday Night Football game.
Hey, Skip Bayless said we got to run that back, though.
We ran it back the next week, and I beat him.
Oh boy. All right. Wow.
I will say that I think this is a perfect plug for everything going to happen.
I didn't mean to start all that. I really did.
Tomorrow.
Die for Saul to win.
This is where we're going tomorrow. This is just a taste.
Yeah,
of the fantasy football.
I did not have this in the rundown, but here we go. I mean,
that's a fantasy football draft is coming, and tune in because you'll get to see 3 hours of that.
Yep, absolutely. Wow. Well, Kevin, we're really excited to have you on this show.
Yeah, thanks. Welcome aboard, Kevin.
We've had a lot of teams, Kevin's our third, well, I guess technically fourth, but third fuller time producer. Now we've had 3 teams represented, as, of course, Danielle, Oil Man for life, as we know, Sean DePaz, Sabres fan. Now we have Kevin, the St. Louis Blues fan. So excited that Kevin's going to be here talking hockey with us every single week. So everyone give him a warm welcome. We'll get you in our hockey Discord as well. And really looking forward to having Kevin part of the PHNX Hockey Pod. And before we wrap up, Petey, I know there's something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, real quick, high school hockey, they had some preview tournament last week, and they're continuing their preseason games this weekend, and I got a chance to sit down with James and Dylan, and we talked on the Hat Trick Hockey Podcast, all part of the Inside the Rink Network. It's on YouTube, and it is on wherever you get your podcasts, and you can get the Arizona State high school hockey preview. We talked players, we talked teams, and we'll see if Centennial can repeat or if Notre Dame can find their way back to a state championship or those Pinnacle Pioneers who are near and dear to my heart, can they climb their way back to the mountaintop of Arizona high school hockey? Join in at Hat Trick Hockey Podcast on the Inside the Rink Network. Just Google it, search it, find it. It's a lot of fun if you're interested in high school hockey. We talked it all and broke it all down.
Go Huskies. That's all I have to say.
Actually, they're a sleeper. They came up in the show as they're a team to watch. Keep your eye on the Huskies.
Heck yeah. I know Eric is also a Husky, so we have a couple Huskies here at PHNX. Before we wrap up, if you did not listen to Petey's interview with former Coyote player, coach, and executive Steve Sullivan from last Friday, you are missing out. An amazing in-depth interview with some great stories. It's available now wherever you get your podcasts. And as a reminder, we have weekly audio-only episodes, so if you subscribe wherever you get your podcast to the PHNX Hockey Show, you will not miss those audio-only episodes. And while you're there, if you don't mind leaving us a 5-star review, it would be greatly appreciated as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel so you don't miss whenever we go live. We'll have an audio-only show this Friday. And then starting next Wednesday, we're actually going to be moving to 12 p.m. That's noon every Wednesday. So set your reminders, block off your calendar, take your lunch break with us on Wednesdays.
Wow.
We can keep it as a standing date with you all, and we really appreciate you all in the chat.
Can you remind me later?
I will. Yes, I will. We appreciate everybody in the chat. If you're here with us live or later, be sure to hit the thumbs up button on this video. We sincerely appreciate it. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at Leah Merrill, at SPetersHockey. Kevin, what's your at? I don't have it off the top of my head yet.
It's Kev Tom Wrights, so KEVTHOM Wrights.
Awesome. Wrights as with a W. Rights.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Rights.
Physically, yeah.
So you can follow.
You got to spell things out for me here, Kev. Like that's literally like Wright, R-I-G-H-T or R-I-T-E.
No. Rights.
Because he's a journalism kid.
Yes.
Another one of those.
Another Wildcat too. Bear down. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter. At PHNX_hockey. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you greatly. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody. And we'll talk to you very soon.
We all silly like the mayor.